Thinking about this affirmative action ruling, this landmark ruling, overturning decades of precedence on affirmative action, I think it's a good thing. I want to address a couple of the counter arguments, what you hear from people who support affirmative action, and then I think what the response should be. The key question that they rhetorically ask is, well, Dan, don't you think that background should be an important part of an admissions process, and an important part of any incorporation of somebody into a group, whether that's a business or a university? Shouldn't their background matter? Doesn't a place get stronger with diverse background? And I said, yeah, but you said background, you didn't say race. And so what I figured out is, like, over the years, the pro-affirmative action crowd has conflated these two words and kind of tricked everybody into thinking that they're the same thing. That background and race are the same thing, that because your skin color is of a certain pigment, that therefore it means something, X, Y, and Z, about your background that we just automatically know. But we don't. And I say, look, there's nothing wrong with picking people based on background. Maybe you want more people from rural America. Maybe you don't have anybody from the Midwest and you want them in your office. There's obvious background differences there. Maybe there's languages. There's a reason we have essays in the admissions process. There's a reason we have entire biographies that are usually sent up, so that an admissions board can make that decision based on background. But making it upon race, which is an immutable characteristic, it has nothing to do with your background, except genealogy. I guess that's part of your background. But it doesn't talk about your experiences. If you want to talk about your experiences, you can put it in an essay. The other argument they make, number two, is that, well, Dan, look, there's been clear violations of the law in the past where it's not applied equally. Because look, one of the big arguments against affirmative action is the 14th Amendment, like the equal application of the law amendment. All right, so all laws must be applied equally across the board. It's a pretty strong statement, which is why I think ultimately affirmative action failed. But they'll say, well, those laws weren't applied before, so don't we have to make up for that? And here's the thing. This is a common argument in the left, where one injustice, a true injustice done at one point in time, to them means that 6 degrees of separation later, with totally different actors, different people, different justice and forms of injustice, it must be corrected then. But that's crazy. If at one point in time person A commits an injustice against person B, it does not therefore mean that decades later that an injustice shall be committed against person C by person D because they come from person B. All right, that was a lot of letters, and I'm sorry for that, but I think you get what I'm saying. You can't correct an injustice by applying an injustice to somebody else that had nothing to do with the first injustice in the first place, and that's exactly what happens in an affirmative action case, where you have students who are eminently qualified. But have the same chance of admission as another student who is far less qualified. That's an injustice against a student who worked hard, did what they were supposed to do to get into the university they wanted to. And none of the injustice is done, perhaps to the ancestors of the other student who has an easier time getting into the college, have anything to do with that student who now faces a further obstacle into admission now. It's faulty logic. And they don't just apply to affirmative action. They apply to a lot of different, I think, race-based forms of reparations. And it's always wrong, every single time. The solution is always to correct the injustice directly, not create a new injustice indirectly and further down the line. That's how you create chaos and, division. And that's affirmative action.